me go to the.
I'm just gonna
Okay,
leave it
right.
open so I can see it. I can't play with you. I'm busy with
Yeah,
your
just
mama.
ignore and she will go away.
I'm busy with your mama.
Hi, guys. Hello, hello. What am I gonna bring out today? What will I bring out today?
Sorry, no,
Okay.
Jane, did you put anything in this?
No.
Would you like something in it?
No, it's
Okay.
very sweet.
All
I
right.
know, yeah. So
Last week I
just
brought out
take
my
the tea bag
phone.
out.
This week I'm bringing out my clapper. We're going into week 3. This is a big week. They're all big weeks, but the way I see week 3 is it takes 21 days to change a habit. So we're going into our 3rd week. So we're going into our 21 days. We're coming off of our 10-day, of course. I'm sure everybody's feeling great. I hope you introed new foods or old foods slowly and are drinking lots of water still. I'm not sure if anyone's continued with the smoothies. Great if you did. Just remember you can't go past 2 weeks, okay? I don't love saying the word can't, but I do like to go back and say that often because your body, I know I've got your book. Your body needs specific nutrients from food itself. So we want to make sure we're getting a little bit of both at this point or after 2 weeks. And if you're reintroducing food, awesome. That's great. I'm hoping everyone's feeling really, really good. So last week was all about sugar. Okay. I'm not sure if you began to replace things and or I gave out the meal plans. So the meal plans were to start today. I'm just thinking there's a possibility that we ended the cleanse on Thursday and then we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And in those 3 days, sometimes because we know we're starting something again on Monday, we give ourselves a little bit more permission than we may have, especially in that 10 days. So I'm not sure if there was anything that came up for you, but a lot of times what will come up is a dessert. And I talked about rewards and rewarding yourself and trying to not make a sweet and or sugar or salty or food in particular as a treat or a reward, because it really isn't, right? It's not something that we want to reward ourselves with. We want to be bubble bath, get a magazine, maybe get your nails done, buy that expensive bottle of nail polish, whatever it is. But the reward, you have to remember, you want to make it something that's more pleasurable as an action as opposed to a food, okay, a fuel. Because when we're stressed, we tend to, just in case that didn't happen for you, when we're stressed, we tend to reach for a sweet. And or when we're celebrating, we reach for a sweet. Or when we're in a social function, we had Mother's Day yesterday and we reach for a sweet. So it's all about balance. Of course, you can have the sweet, but just remember that, that sweet can sometimes come back to bite you because it can open up those floodgates. So we had a mantra that we introduced last week that I am going to go back over. But what I really want to get to is to understand all the way back to week number 1 and what you think our core principle of this entire program is about, because it's really important that we remember this. Do you guys remember? What's the core principle? Permission is huge. And what's part of permission? What comes after permission?
Changing your thinking.
Changing your thinking, yeah, which is your mind and the permission. When we go off track or I don't want to give it away. So what is the balance? When you go to reach for something, you say to yourself, okay, it's all about the
Balance.
But
Did you say that?
There was a principle, a core principle. This is really important. 80-20. Okay.
Is it
all about 80-20?
okay.
I can't actually hear, but did we get that as an answer? Turn my volume up on the keyboard. There we go. Is that Tanya?
Yeah, I didn't think 80-20, but I was remembering what you said. If you do slip up,
Yes.
you say to yourself or say out loud, I know I've done what I've done, but I'm going to get back on track right away. And don't wait till tomorrow.
That's so good, Tanya. I'm so proud of you. So the mantra was to get back on track the next meal or the next snack. Okay. No one, I want to go deep here. No one is going to do this 100% of the time. There's not one person that isn't going to slip up. I don't even want you to do that. That's not possible. You can never not have another dessert. You can never not have another chip or not have something that's not a whole grain and a whole wheat. It's not going to happen. There's no such thing as 100%. Learning to somewhat fail is huge. It creates resilience within our body. The Maple Leafs, they would never go back and play another game. They don't win. We do not win all the time. Sean, my husband, his dad had a great saying. When Sean would lose, he'd get all sucky when he was young. He'd say, son, you better learn how to lose, because you're going to lose more than you win. Because it's a 50-50 chance at all times. And truthfully, you do lose more than you win. But we just got to get back up. We got to get back on track. Say you got alcoholism. I just want to put that out there. There's these 12-step programs. And so 12-step, if you make it to 5, you go right back to 1. But you don't give up completely. You don't just say, oh, that's it, I'm an alcoholic for life. It's over. Same thing as your diet. Just because you slip up and you have a little piece of cake doesn't mean you just throw everything out the window. Okay? Life really is a journey. It's not a destination. I know you've heard that, and it's just, but it's true, right? We've got to live through this whole program. And when you leave here, I really want you to give yourself permission, but I want it to be 20% of the time. At some point, you might go to 50-50, and then you just swing right back. You got to get back to that 80-20. There are some people that will go the opposite. 80% of the time they're off track, and 20% of the time they're not. And they know they got to flip that right around. Okay, that's the core principle, because I don't want people to get frustrated. We're going into this 3 weeks, and sometimes we're not maybe seeing the results we want. Maybe we had a perception in our mind of what we would be feeling and or experiencing. I don't want you to get frustrated. My dad had an awesome saying. He had this little belly, and he'd say, this belly cost me so much money. It was quite an investment. It took me a long time to grow or gain. You have to think about these little steps. It's going to take us a while till we correct all these little behaviors and all these little patterns and learn all of this information. It's a lot of information. But if you can just say, I'm giving myself permission, I'm going to get back on track, the next meal or the next snack, you're going to be okay. All right. And or vice versa. When we had our Mother's Day last night, we chose to have a healthier choice for our meal. And then we had a little sliver of cake. We just flipped it instead of having the burger and the bun and so on and so forth. Okay. And or some people choose to be a little bit cleaner throughout the day and then give themselves permission for that meal. But the next meal comes at breakfast the next day. So you get right back on track. Okay. Have I drilled that in enough? All right. Because at the end of the day, most of what we're learning has to do with emotional attachments. We are very attached to our food because it is socially acceptable. There will not be not another function in your life. They will always come up. It's not possible. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're thinking, how am I going to deal with this? Like, I'm going to a wedding, let's just say. And I know there's going to be lots of variety. One of the tricks I use is I actually eat before I go to a lot of these functions. When I go in a little bit hungry, I'm not, grabbing at whatever the first thing that comes out. I make better choices. I make better choices and I get back on track right away because my next meal is going to be at that wedding. Okay. All right. So we also covered last week everything to do with what defines you. And many people sat here, and I call it raccoon eyes. You all looked at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I talked about going through a bad experience, and the bad experience for me was just awesome because I had to start from scratch. And when you start from scratch and you clear away all the clutter, like I said, and you're left with thinking, oh my gosh, what's life all about? You begin to clearly see what is it that you can do with or without any tools. So at the time, I was starting fresh with a new home. I was starting fresh in a new community. The one thing I did have was, yes, my fitness and nutrition, but it was teaching and coaching. I knew I couldn't help myself. And even when my dad passed away, it was the one thing that drew me back in. And every time I shake my head and say, why? How do I end up doing this every time? But that's what it's all about for me. Okay. So remember I said to try to think of what your I am is. So you may be a nurturer. You may be a giver of any kind. You might be a gardener. Maybe going for a walk in the forest is what heals you. So you look around and you're like, okay, I am part of nature. And that's what lifts you back up. Because normally what is going to pull you out of your routine and your habits is going to be whatever it is that you love the most. So if you have young children, you're going to feel guilty when you go to do, let's say, exercise or prep your meals or whatever it is you're trying to do, because you love your children and you're a nurturer and you want to be with your family. My advice had been that you want to balance that. So you say, okay, I have just to lay down with the kids and put them to bed, read them a book. I have 20 minutes. I'm going to go prep my food. You have to balance it, because what happens is you actually end up resenting or blaming what it is that you're so passionate about. My daughter loves to garden. She could get carried away in the garden. And this happened quite frequently. And then she'd say, oh, I'm going to work out later. And later never came, because then she had to work, go to the desk and start working. And then you get tired. And then you're like, there's no balance. I'm just doing my gardening, but I got to take care of my health. You've got to take care of you in order to garden and or do whatever it is you want to do. Ultimately, as I said, when you read the book Tuesdays with Maury or you watch that bucket list movie, what it's really all about for most people is to be remembered and or leaving a feeling behind to other people. So if you really want to be remembered as a person who, let's just say, a gardener and worked out and took care of their health and was a really positive person and did their best, then that's what it's all about. So you should try your best to make it all about that. Most of the time, who you are, when you figure out what defines you, it's actually going to be something that is very giving. When I say giving, most of the time, and I want to say 100% of everyone that's here, you're all givers by nature. And what that will happen, what that will do to you is you end up giving away your energy, leaving no energy for you. So it's really important to get clear about what that is, because that is going to be the one thing that is going to hold you back. Okay. So for myself, being a teacher or coach, I didn't feel as bad when I went to do my teaching and coaching, even though I had young kids at the time. I'd go and maybe even play a sport. And I say, okay, I'm going to fill up that in me that is very, very important. And then I'm going to come home to my family and I'm going to give them everything that I have. Then I have balance. Okay. If I'm not giving myself what I need, the balance starts to get a little bit weighted and I get a little bit put off. You feel like you're missing out. I say blame, but at the same time, there's something in you that is going to throw you so far off that you're not that you're going to abuse yourself, but you're going to not take care of yourself as best you can because you're so frustrated because you can't fit it all in. So it's all about that 50-50, that balance, and keeping that balance nice and steady. But you've got to figure out what it is that's going to pull you out of balance. And you have to recognize it, you have to note it, and you have to move on. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of the 5 love languages before. Okay. So if you're all still looking at me with these raccoon eyes, like I still have no idea who I am and what it's all about, right? Think of the 5 love languages. There's acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, and receiving gifts. So usually when you look at the 5 love languages, what you're not receiving is what you want to give. It's how you speak your love language. So for me, mine's not physical touch. Mine's acts of service. So if you really want me to think you love me, you're going to do things for me. And I feel loved. I'm not a physical touch person. You can be 2 things. Acts of service is another one. I love acts of service. So the giving part of it. So to fill myself up, I usually will do those 2 things, but I also require them. Okay. So if you think of who you are and you attach it to that, think of what could fill you up. So let me give you another example, and I'm not sure if you can all relate, but you probably can. So this morning I go out to train, I come in, the dishes all are sitting there. My husband was just, I don't know, playing on his cell phone, and I can say straight out, what were you doing all that time? You're not doing the dishes. And I didn't say it in a nice voice. I probably should have said it a little nicer, but the fact is that's an act of service for me. I need to speak it. You have to tell people what you need in order for you to also find that balance. Jade sometimes.
Intervention.
Yes.
But dad is a physical touch person, and
Yes.
so.
So I
for
did have
you
to
not
give
to
him a
put the lid-
hug. So Jade's defending her dad, which is awesome, and he had a little down moment. I had to give him a hug, okay? So it's all about balance. That's not my comfort zone, but I spoke what I needed, and he spoke, I know what he needs, so I did what he needed, right? But where I'm going with this is, if you don't start sharing with the people that you care about what you need, you're going to find yourself very off balance. And no matter what I teach you, I've said this from the beginning, no matter what I teach you in this program, nothing's really going to change. There's a saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. It's learning what it is that's getting you stuck. So if it's a bunch of dishes, speak it. It won't happen the first time. I've been married 30 years, but I won't harbor it for the rest of the day. It didn't mean that I didn't fit in my workout. It didn't mean that I didn't go and do the prep that I needed to do today, which got done. Okay. Jade's getting really good at it. Sometimes she doesn't have time to fit walking in the dog. I'm only speaking of our family because it's close and dear and here in my heart. She'll say, Mom, I don't have time to walk the dog. And I'll be like, no problem. She spoke what she needed because she now couldn't fit in her workout. And I recognize that. Or make dinner for the family. Jade does the cooking. Okay. So get really clear. If you don't know what acts of 5 love languages are, look it up. Okay. It's powerful. I don't know who's trying to get a hold of me. Anyways, okay. Why? That's good. Why I'm telling you that is, I told you last week that a paradigm shift is your next biggest step, okay? Your paradigm shift is naming exactly what you want to be. So we added on, I'm in the process of getting healthy and becoming the owner of our bodies, right? Of my body. Or if you were thinking, oh, I want to get into yoga, I am a yogi, right? Don't think when I make time or when I get into that proper yoga class or when I have the right outfit or when I'm comfortable with my job. It's right now. Okay. Speaking in the now is very powerful. I'm going to talk a little more about it today, but it's very, very powerful because we are always focused on the when the kids move out, when I get that job that gives me more time, when, it's just right now. Okay. Right now will move you very, very quickly. Okay. So as I said, it's like when you became a mom, now I'm a mother. That's a paradigm, big paradigm shift. When maybe you buy a house, I am now a homeowner. Or when you get a particular job and it has a name attached to it, I am now a VP. It shifts you. So shift your language. I am a runner. I have people sometimes put this on, like name what you are or what you want to be and be it right now, because you will then begin to possibly act like the runner. You'll come up with habits of a runner, right? A runner is going to fit in their runs every single morning because they're working towards a marathon. They may eat right. They may hydrate right. They'll sleep right. So you just begin to behave a little bit differently. Okay. Now, as for when it comes to what you're thinking about with the sort of the life pyramid foundation part last week, how many people were able to make their health the utmost priority this last week?
Make health utmost
Your
priority.
utmost, remember we said our foundation is our health, right? So I had the pyramid and I said our foundation, I don't even know where my pyramid went. Our foundation, so our pyramid cannot stand on its tip, right? Can't. It has to stand on its foundation, and we made health the foundation. Did everybody start to, I mean, at least a little changes within their mind? May it be even just your water consumption, because you know you need to up your water because that takes care of your health. Okay. So if you were doing that, it's already on your mind, then you knew you had that faith that you're basically taking care of your health. So everything else will work out. But the love piece, that unconditional love piece, the unconditional love for yourself, that you're going to make this an uber priority in your life to take care of your health because it goes full circle. Okay. We talked about that last week. Are we feeling any love for ourselves right now?
Yes.
Yes. Has our energy gone up at least a little bit? Yes. May it be through your food or your workouts or just even being mindful. That health, I guess it's call it a meter, it starts to go up. Okay. Even if it's after a workout, you've got this burst of energy. That's a better energy than the energy that you might have been working off before. The energy, remember the bouncing ball that just kind of died? Okay, that doesn't have to just happen with food. It can happen with your exercise. So bringing that energy back up is going to take care of your health, going to take care of your faith, going to take care of your love for yourself. Because I know you all love yourselves. You have to, or you wouldn't be here right now. But we sometimes put too much of that love outward, okay? We have to bring it back to ourselves. When you're making decision, it's because you love yourself. I don't want people leaving here thinking it's a diet and that they get mad at themselves and you get frustrated with yourself and you're criticizing yourself. We talked about having like, I don't know, 500 negative words we say to ourselves, even when we look in a rear view mirror, as we're backing our car up out of the driveway. We have so much negativity that goes through our minds. I want to raise the positive, okay? Because when you're positive, you're going to get back that positive. We talked about the being a magnet, right? And so you're going to see food differently. You're going to see that dessert as something that isn't going to give you energy. I want you to begin to see these foods differently. I want you to see bread, the whole grains, as energy. I want you to see it as a fuel. I want you to see it as lifting you up, not bringing you down, okay? Food for so many people, they think it's like bad, but it's not bad. It's what you're eating that can be sometimes bad and or throwing you off, but we've talked about we're replacing. We haven't taken anything away yet that we haven't replaced with, have we? Does anyone feel like they're going without?
Oh, no.
Awesome, because that's what the hope is for me, is that through the program that you always feel like you have an option. It's not, oh my gosh, I can't have that. That negativity starts to happen. And that's when you feel like you're missing something. Remember, I told you when you lose something, you want to get it back, or you feel like you failed. So you want to win. You don't want to feel that loss. Okay. You want to feel empowered. All right. So if you're not feeling empowered going into week 3, I really need you to share that with me, because I've told you a lot of information, but there might be one little thing that you're stuck on, and let me help you replace it. So if everyone's say missing coffee, is there a coffee substitution? Okay. There's matcha, right? Matcha has great caffeine in it. Green tea has great caffeine in it, but there's alternatives. All right. Everybody feeling good? Awesome. Okay. So let's move into, that's our little bit of a tiny review of last week. So I like to be able to do that. We're going to move to, oh, I just flipped my page.
Did you put that in my whole book?
Yeah, but don't worry, I'm going to fix it. Okay.
Fix it.
What's that? So, all right. So this week we've got a lot to cover. I've got so much to cover. But what I want to do is pinpoint page 60. I really want to pinpoint maybe what is the habit? What is the one habit? If we could write one habit, you could write 2 or 3, but what is the one habit that you think is ultimately holding you back right now? I don't know if you've ever heard of boundaries before. Have you ever heard of, you got to put up your boundaries. You got to put up your boundaries if you're feeling a little bit off. Okay, so for me, when people would say boundaries, I don't think of it as boundaries. For me, I mean, some would say it's stubborn, but I know exactly what I need to do to stay on track. So I have these boundaries that I've created in my life that will keep my habits a little bit more intact. So a boundary might be my 5 a.m. is not negotiable. My time to journal is not negotiable. My workouts, not negotiable. It might look stubborn to some people, especially when I'm on holidays. I'm like, oh, really, Lee, do you have to work out? Yes, I do. Even if it's only 10 minutes, I know I need to work out because it lifts my energy. So is there a habit in your life that you can think of, one habit that you can write down, right where it says record it on page 60, the one habit at this point that might be sort of triggering you right now?
Positive or negative?
I would say it would be a little bit of a replacement. I don't love saying negative, but a habit that you know might be preventing you from getting your workout in, or preparing your meals. It's all about preparation, or getting to bed early so that you get a good night's sleep. Is there a habit in your life that might be triggering it?
So is there a definition for, just in your mind, you think you don't have time?
A
Do you know what I mean?
definition,
Like, so how
time
do you,
is,
like,
yes. And
it's
so I love that because you're jumping ahead. Okay.
sorry.
No, time is a big one. I'm gonna get to that, but time is a big
Because
one.
it's not a habit, obviously, but it's
No.
like,
Yes,
okay.
it's not actually a habit, so
Mhm.
time isn't actually a habit. I'm gonna reframe the word time though, because it's a big one
Mhm.
for everybody. that
Because
I
you
work
have,
with.
I have time, I'm sure I
Yes,
do, but
yes.
in my mind, I don't.
If you look at the
Okay.
poor habit and replacement habits,
Lovely.
you could look at, I mean, go as far as
Okay.
saying smoking, so you could chew gum. I mean, that's obviously a habit of, I'm not sure anyone has, but if you're working on it, binge eating, you can look at, okay, I could be eating smaller meals. I'm not actually exactly telling you to tell me what your replacement habit is, but there could be a habit. My mom has one that I'll never forget. She tells me all the time, when she has a cup of tea, she has to have a cookie with it. So she knows that that tea triggers a cookie. For me, Tim Hortons, I have to get a donut. I love donuts. I don't know if anybody knows that about me, but my favorite thing in the world is donuts. So I know I have to be careful when I go into Tim Hortons. I have to walk in saying, don't buy donut, don't buy donut. I'm going to talk to that bully. That bully, you know, it picks on me sometimes because of course I have a donut, but think of a habit. If there's a habit and a trigger, okay? All right. I'm going to go on to what Cindy actually asked. Cindy asked, could time be a poor habit? So there's something called not being defined by your disease, okay? And when I say don't be defined by your disease, the other way to explain it would be don't be defined by your excuses. And that's a harsh word for some people, but it really, really works. We all get the same number of hours and minutes in the day. It's how we decide to use them. So when time is the issue, which I know it's an issue, we have to see time differently. And the only way to do it is to prepare, to time block and make it a priority. So when I know I'm going to have a super busy day, I look ahead to that busy day and I say, where can I fit it in? Now, does it mean I'm going to get into the gym and do my 30 minutes, or is it going to be that regimented workout? No, but it may be me standing and brushing my teeth and doing some leg raises. It might be a couple squats while I'm doing the dishes. It might be while I'm talking on the phone, fitting in my phone call with someone that I need to call. I'm going to do some crunches at the same time with a headset on. Back to the word permission, okay? Fitting it in 20% of the time is okay. 80% of the time you should have a good regimented workout, and you should be eating clean and or have as much prep time as you can. But when it comes to time, yeah, we all have it. So sometimes people will say to me, but Lee, I don't know, I'm so tired, like I just don't have the time to fit it in. I'm so busy all day long. I personally don't know a workout that doesn't give me energy. And usually I have my best workouts when I have no energy. I get energy from the workout. Okay. So just fitting in a quick 5 minutes, even just running up and down the stairs. You set your watch and say, I'm going to go up and down the stairs 3 times. That's what I can fit in today. But that movement is what's going to keep you into that positivity bank where you're saying, okay, good. Look, I fit something in, and doesn't take you down that negative loop. That negative loop, that worry loop, it creates a lot of stress in the body. And stress, honestly, is just going to shoot up your cortisol. And I don't know if anyone knows what actually typically happens when we're stressed. But when we're stressed, we typically have our cortisol shoot up. And our cortisol is our insulin. And when our insulin shoots up, like we talked about sugar last week, we're not really worried so much about that. We're worried about the crash. Okay. And the crash is where, even though you know you shouldn't have it, you're going to reach for it anyways. And usually people will reach for a sweet treat, usually, unless they have that salt craving, but it's usually a sweet treat that they'll look for, they'll graze on. Stress. Does anybody know what the word stressed backwards is? Dessert. Okay, so be ready for it. Time, when we have lack of time, that creates stress. When we have a very busy, hectic lifestyle, it creates stress. We have to become the owners of our body, right?
I was just gonna say, you have to, it's almost like you're not making yourself a priority.
Yes,
right?
that's exactly what I'm trying to
'Cause you
say.
can.
This whole who I am and I am and the 5 love languages, it's all about making yourself a priority. It really is, because that's usually where we're going to make our worst mistakes.
Mhm.
Okay. So when you leave me in 6 weeks, it's where it's going to happen. And you're going to, doesn't matter what Lee taught you, it's still going to happen. Okay. The bully always eventually wins as well, just so you know, eventually. That's why I say 80-20. You can't be 100%. At some point, that bully is going to get louder and louder and louder and louder. We're going to lose that battle. As I said, you can't win every game. Okay. But right back on track. Next meal or next snack, 80-20, permission. Is this feeling good? Is this feeling right, guys? Okay, because I really want you built up on that. All right, so we're going to go to page 76. Page 76 is week 4. I know that, but this is super important, okay? And I want to do a recording, and I will do a recording. The recording will touch on reading labels more than anything. Okay, 76.
Negativity.
Negativity. Okay, so I want you, and don't worry, I'm not going to look if it happens to be me, Jade. But anyway, I want you to think of a negative person in your life and write down a name or put a fake name if you don't ever want them to read this book.
Took me 30 seconds.
Okay. Now, I want you to understand, why did you choose them? What do they do? What is their actions that is negative, makes them negative? Maybe it's their facial expressions. Maybe it's their words. Maybe it's their gestures. What? I can't say words sometimes. Just write what you see in your mind's eye. You want to write in here too?
I think I can like do it in my head.
I'll just give you another 30 seconds because I'm sure we could write a novel sometimes.
That's what the journal's for.
Okay, so over the years, you'll see right there, over the years, the people that I have met that are most broken have also been the most negative people I know. And the healthiest people I know tend to be the most positive. I don't mean all the time. Okay, I don't. 80-20. All right. The healthiest people, they think in terms of being able to do something. Okay, there's something called being responsible, and it means response able. They are able to handle a response to something that might be triggering them. Okay, they might have affirmations and mantras. They have tools like setting up a rigid schedule, whatever it is that they use, they typically are prepared. They have the right actions and tools to follow through. So let's write down a positive person.
I'm not eye rolling.
Oh,
It looks like there's a filter on my face on the Zoom.
oh.
And I'm
Okay, so now I want
You're
you to write
definitely-
down a description of them. Not necessarily the actions, but the description. Later, if you want to ask them what their actions are, because sometimes these healthy people, they don't go around broadcasting this. They just go about life living in a happy world and being positive, and for some reason, they're just doing it all right. You can't quite figure it out. However, if you know this person intimately or you're very, very close to them, write down what you think their actions are.
You did that shit crazy.
So I'm not going to lean towards acting like them. Okay. I'm not actually going to lean towards that. Last week, I had mentioned that sometimes what we're putting out in the world is a perception, and sometimes we can get caught up in that. Social media, for me, it can be that in itself. So it's putting out what you want people to believe, but about yourself, but truthfully, there are things that people do need to know about you, and the people that are closest to you, you can share that with. I know you're not going to broadcast that on social media, but if we live our life based on what we only want people to perceive, then we're not living to our truest self. And I'll get to why in a second. So I don't want you to act like them, but there may be behaviors that you could pick up that are similar to them. When I first got into fitness, I had a mentor that was phenomenal. Her name was Janet Spruta. And for the first while, I tried to perform like Janet, and I did classes like Janet, and I worked like Janet with work ethic and how I tended to the needs of our clients. And it was a really good system for me to not behave in a way that I was acting, but that felt right for me. So you do want to not always pick up on every trait, but if you want to pick up on some of them, it might actually help you shift a little bit closer to the who you are. Okay. All right. So affirming language. I mean, believing in something is already more powerful than wishing it, right? I've talked about this many times, many times, but it's learning that life is not accountable to us. We are accountable to life. So it's action-based. It's making a decision that this is very important to you. You may even have had a childhood where this wasn't something that you were taught. It's not something that was firsthand, not even spoken to you, love languages and affirmations and mantras, but you can make a decision right now to change it. You can make a decision and change right away and become accountable to what you really want and what you desire. It's not impossible. It really is. Impossible is I'm possible. Did you know that? Winnie the Pooh said that. It's not impossible, okay, to change it, like even a snap of a finger and get up tomorrow morning. It's not going to be easy in the beginning, and you're going to have that 80-20 in the back of your mind. Oh, I'm being negative again, and swing yourself back up. But notice, are you sleeping? This morning I was miserable. I had a terrible night's sleep, terrible. Have a little rest, and then just, okay, that's it, enough, move on, okay, and pick yourself back up. Not always easy. Self-respect. Okay, so I want to get into this self-loathing, because when you get into that negativity bank too much, the self-loathing is really hard on our soul. Okay, doesn't matter what Lee tells you. I'm just motivating you right now. That inspiration that I talk about all the time, that's going to be tough, because the inspiration isn't sometimes not strong enough. The desperation sets in. You get back into bad habits, right? You get back into things that you used to do that felt very comfortable. So I'm going to tell you a story. Here's the story, and I want you to listen closely to this story, because we're going to come up with what we thought of the story. Okay. One day, a man riding a busy subway began to get frustrated and upset as he sat and watched. If you want to read along, it's on page 77. As he sat and watched as another man with his children rode the system, causing a lot of noise and a stir amongst the patrons. The kids were extremely loud and obnoxious, disturbing everyone around them. The upsetting part was that the father appeared to be withdrawn and did nothing to calm his children down. As the man sat and watched, he became angry, and he felt he had to say something. So he turned to the father and said that he really should settle his children down and not sit there doing nothing about it. The father looked up in shock and said sadly, "Yes, I'm sorry. I guess I should do something about it. You see, their mother passed away this morning, and quite honestly, I don't know what to do. They don't normally behave like this. I think it's their way of dealing with the situation. And quite frankly, I don't even know how to behave in this situation myself," basically. So when you heard the explanation, did it immediately change how you felt about the situation? Probably. I did. Anyways, okay. Page 78. We are very quick to judge. Okay. Very quick to judge. Judgment it's just natural, I want to say. It really is. It's what actually keeps us safe sometimes, right? So you walk into a situation, you're judging the situation, you're judging the person, you're judging what's going to happen to you, okay? But I'll tell you what we're also very guilty of: judging ourselves. This man, going through a terrible experience, immediately began to judge himself, because he thought, oh my goodness, you're right. I'm wrong. I don't know what to do. Okay. I can't do this program without talking about the 4 agreements, and people get maybe tired of hearing about it, but the 4 agreements was the biggest shift for my life. Okay. If you haven't heard of the 4 agreements, like the 5 love language that I talked about, listen closely. The 4 agreements, the number 1 is be impeccable with your word. Most people would think that means the words that you speak to other people, which you should be careful with, because they can hurt people. And those words can last a lifetime. Okay. You might have picked up words from your parents even that have lasted a lifetime. Okay. But the way this is actually supposed to work is be impeccable with the words you speak to yourself. If you keep saying, I suck, I fail all the time, I can't do this, you begin to believe it, okay? That's a judgment against yourself. Don't take anything personally. That is my hardest agreement, okay? Very, very difficult for me. I take almost everything personally. I have to go back and remember that what is happening because of what their story is. Whoever is doing it to me, it's their story. I don't know what this man's going through and whether he had cancer, and maybe he lashes out at me. I could take that personally. Meanwhile, it had nothing to do with me. Okay. So understanding that you can't take things personal is so hard. And the way I work these lessons, just so you know personally, I spent about a month on every one of these lessons. So for an entire month, I went around trying to be impeccable with my word, the words I spoke to myself and the words I spoke to other people. The next month I worked on don't take anything personally. Number 3 is don't make assumptions. Okay. When you make assumptions, it's very easy to assume it's because of you. Okay. It's not you all the time. Now, I have had conversations with some coaches that say of the 4 agreements, that's the one that they may disagree with, because it doesn't give you permission to go around spewing out words hurting people and thinking, but I'm okay. That person's not okay and I got to make them okay. Or, taking things personal. Well, maybe you need to take a few things personal because people are trying to tell you something. So you can play with these any way you want to, but in my opinion, not making assumptions really removes you immediately from judgment. Okay. Judgment of yourself because you're assuming a situation is doing something. It's not happening for you. Remember, I've spoken about that. Okay. Making that assumption. It's all in your mind. And the last one is just to always do your best. So if you're working on your word, taking things personal, making assumptions, and then you're just doing your best, the best is all you can do. Okay. It's that 80-20. All right. That's all that you have to work with. So if you want to look down at the next piece, this is a big part, in my opinion. And this is sort of, if you even think of AA and how that works, I have a good friend recovering for over 30 years, and she has seen people, I'll say, fail in the program because they've lost their life, because they've slipped up and they have gone that whole 100% right back and lost their life. What AA is meant to do is even when they lose someone and or themselves, they have a support network. Okay. I want you to try to think and write down a few names of people that you would have in your support network. So what that means is, who do you feel safe enough to tell them, I am in the process of getting healthy. When you notice that I'm going a little too far off balance, would you remind me? Now, this has to be a safe person. I did mention in week 1 that sometimes, like for me, if my husband, if he's my safe person, he says, well, Lee, you're not supposed to have that cookie. Well, you don't understand. I'm tired. I've done dishes all day. I can give excuses, but I'm pretty safe with him. He knows what I'm trying to achieve. So he bought fries and gravy today. I'm trying to be as clean as possible. He's not going to hand me a fry and gravy. So you can tell a person you're really, really close to, but be very clear that when that person possibly calls you out, they're doing it because they love you. Okay. They know this is important to you and they care about you. Sometimes if you're having trouble even with your fitness regimen, you may want to eventually join a gym. There's some gyms where I've made my best friends. I truly have to this day, because sometimes we'll go to a class and say the class was, I don't know, going to be canceled for some reason. I don't know, the instructor didn't show up. The other 3 people are like, well, let's go for a walk, right? So I've created these healthy relationships. So think of some people that maybe could help you with some health goals that you have as far as fitness, going to that yoga studio. If there's an instructor that you relate to and they're that type of instructor that will text you and say, hey, where have you been? Or maybe you join a sports team and they need you because you're playing first base and there's something in your life that you need to be accountable to. I believe so strongly in accountability. I've written here, like I've created a whole business for 25 years over it. I truly believe accountability is my second go-to. So when I am not fixing my permission, my 80-20 is out the window and I'm off track for I don't even want to say a month. I'm reaching to my support network right away. I am calling them, please hold me accountable. I need to go for a walk 3 times this week. Can we book that? Or I'm joining a gym, or I'm joining a team. It has gotten me through my darkest days. I said when my business was collapsing and then I lost my dad, it got me through all the way. I did so good. That was our 45-minute ding, 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 ding. All right, so I spoke about that legacy and making sure that we understand how very, very important it is to identify with why. Why are you doing all of this? If it is to release body fat, well, I just set you up with a whole lot of really great tools. Go back. I don't know if you're rereading any of the chapters, but it's really helpful to reread chapters. It's not great to move ahead, but it is great to reread chapters. Moving ahead can sometimes just be overwhelming. And sometimes this is a workbook. It's not a book. I didn't write it in a way that it should just guide you by itself. It kind of needs me to take you through the process. Okay, let's have a 2-minute break. Have a quick pee, have some water, and then we're going to learn about week 3, which I love. Hi. Okay, I'm back. So we were sharing here. If there's anything that comes up at home and you want to share, you can interrupt anytime. I was just saying to Cindy, did I answer 45 minutes? Yeah. I was saying to Cindy, did I answer her question about time? I use Post-it notes a lot, and I said I don't want it to come across as mean by saying the word for me for time is excuses. It's just what I call being defined by your disease. If your disease is time all the time, that's funny. If you're always using the word, oh, I don't have enough time, I just see it as an excuse. So I will write in big letters time, and I will write excuse, and I will put that in like 4 or 5 places. And I just got to be reminded. And then I said to Cindy that remember that life, right now she's moving her mom. Sometimes your workout is in your lifestyle. Okay, so when you're moving a house, maybe you're running up and down the stairs more often with boxes. That's a workout. Say, yay me, I did great. I got my workout in. The only time I don't say that it's lifestyle is when you have a labor intense job, like a physical labor. I'll just use a bricklayer as an example. A bricklayer going to work for 8 hours a day, doing that for 10, 20 years, that's repetitive work. That is not a fitness regimen for them. They actually need to come home and start working on some pulley to balance out their work that they're doing in the daytime, okay? But if you live a sedentary, you're at a desk and you're on a computer most of your day, get truthful with yourself and say, okay, I need to add activity. I need to move my body, okay? All right, now we're moving on. Week 3, page 62. So I introduced your meal plans. I am not sure if everyone started this morning, but if you didn't, that's okay. Start tomorrow morning if it was a bit confusing, but we started our meal plans today. I've had so many people say, Lee, I told you this in week 1. Lee, if you just tell me what to eat, I will do it, okay? Every single person that comes to see me as a nutritionist, a coach in fitness, doesn't matter, yoga class, they all say the same thing. And I said to you, I can tell you what to do, but the why part is what's going to get you off track, okay? The meal plans I have now given you because I truly believe that you're all working independently now. I'm not getting as many questions. It's been wonderful. Everyone's actually absorbing this and they're making it a priority in their life. So I'm confident that you can follow a meal plan. I want to go over the fact, my sister taught me this a long time ago. When you design anything, it needs to be sustainable, self-regulated, and quick and easy. The meal plan is that. I have taken care of the exact calories that you actually need with the balance of carbohydrates, protein, and fat and fiber. I'll throw that in later. I have made sure that it's quick and easy. Here's why. Everything in it is interchangeable. I got to give credit to Jade, by the way. She's looking at me, rolling her eyes. Jade helped me with every recipe, just so everybody knows. I just kind of recipe approved it, right? Mom, is this okay? Yes, it is. We can put that in there. Okay. So it is very, very balanced. So if a breakfast on Monday doesn't work for you, you like Friday better, go do Friday. You can interchange the breakfast. You can interchange the lunch. You can interchange the dinners. If you don't like caramelized onions with your chicken, go ahead and just have the chicken and have your veggies and whatnot. It doesn't have to be caramelized onions on chicken. Did you guys kind of get that when I sent it out? Mm-hmm. Okay, permission, right? The snacks might have been a little confusing, but what you can do is today was yogurt parfait and the zucchini. Yeah. So we happen to have a banana molasses bread that's the same as a zucchini bread. And so we use that instead. So you can interchange with things that you now know are healthy. Okay. So if you know you have a recipe that works better, ours was a zucchini molasses banana bread, go ahead, interchange it. That's fine. Okay. The idea is though, we want to be fueling, right? Remember, food is fuel. We want to be fueling every 2 to 4 hours. Did anyone feel like they were putting something in their mouth a little more regularly than they have in the last 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. Did it make you feel good? Mm-hmm. Right? Because it gives you permission. You're like, oh, I'm a little hungry. Oh, what am I supposed to have? I'm supposed to have a snack right now, right? What did Lee say I could have? Okay, great. I can choose from that. Okay. You've got permission. What is going to happen is we are fueling our body. Our body is getting flooded with really good food. Okay. Really good food. So what do you think is happening to your metabolism?
Going up.
Going up. Okay. Starving yourself lowers your metabolism because your body says it's not like a car. Remember, I told you a car has a gas meter. It's not like a car. Your body doesn't run out of gas. What does it eat off of if you're running out of fuel? Muscle, right? When your body is running out of fuel, it's going to eat off the muscle, but it also lowers your metabolism because in order to get through the rest of your day, it has to lower. If you play with that enough, your hormones are out of whack. All of your digestive system is out of whack. It doesn't know when to store, when to release. It's very, very important. So if we fuel, it's actually going to allow us to burn body fat, build muscle, and give us energy and feel great, okay? Here's what we're gonna do now. We are going to add our cleanse day. Does anybody know, without looking at your books, does anybody know what another way of saying your cleanse day is? Because some people see cleanse as a fad, like it's bad, they're going to starve themselves, it's not healthy.
Reset.
It's a reset. Yeah, it's a reset. It's an energy nutrient saturation day. We are flooding our system with tons and tons of nutrients, okay? Tons. Because 75% of our day is going to go towards fruits and vegetables. I'd love if it was more to vegetables than fruit, because fruit obviously has some sugar. It's going to spike your glycemic index and it's going to make you very, very hungry. So one day per week, we're going to choose that day. One day per week, we're not going to have an animal protein. We're going to try to restrict our fat. The only fats we really want to get is maybe a little bit of butter or olive oil, because I don't want you eating plain salad. I've told you guys this before. And or your nuts and seeds, you'll get your omegas through that. And then your complex carbohydrates, your breads and cereals, we're removing for the whole day and removing animal protein on one day. Does this mean, do you think, going back to the 10-day, 2-a-day smoothies, does anybody think that's what you would be doing? There's only a yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, you could. However, I would absolutely love it if we could get more to the food side, okay? So you could start your day with a smoothie, but at lunchtime, I would love to see you having your salad and or a bunch of veggies and then have some of your nuts and seeds on top. I want you to be getting a food source more than a blended source, okay? Your body is going to need it because remember when we did the 10-day reset, we had a regular dinner. So we probably had animal-based protein. We had probably a meat or even a grain like a potato or a bread or rice. Well, we're not doing that on this cleanse day. All right. On this one day a week, we are going to fully cleanse our liver. When we were doing the 10-day, it was an overall body cleanse. Remember, I was saying it's a reset to all your organs. This is actually for your liver. Your liver is the absolute powerhouse for detoxification. Okay. A sluggish liver will get your body feeling sluggish. And when you're sluggish, our brain doesn't actually think properly, okay? We're not getting the right nutrients. We're going to feel tired. We're going to make poor decisions. So we use this one day a week to detox that liver and then fresh the next day. And it's only one day, okay? It's only one day. We are going to try. Now, everybody has to make a decision. We have to try to make that day regular, okay? So think about, do you want to do this on a weekend when you have a lot more time to kind of, I don't know, maybe at work or you're working out, you have a really busy weekday, you might want to do it on the weekend. Or maybe you want to use a weekday like Monday to detox from a weekend. Not that we go completely off on a weekend, but our lifestyle goes off on a weekend. Maybe we're more tired because we fit more things in on a weekend. So we want to actually get an energy saturation day to lift us back up. Okay, so you have to make a decision, and you kind of have to make a decision now as to when you're going to input that one day a week. Okay, then I need you to treat it like it's a party. Okay, like if company was coming, we would make a veggie platter, we would make a fruit platter, right? Again, why do we treat everybody else better than we treat ourselves? Okay, we make the time for everybody else. Are just asking you to do this once a week. Prep all your veggies, prep your food. And if you don't have time, excuse, if you don't have it, go to Walmart. They sell the things for $15. Who cares, right? I mean, it's better than not doing it at all. Okay. You can run up to Foodland 7 o'clock on a Sunday night because you forgot to do it all weekend long and you want to do this Monday and you forgot. Just run up, grab a fruit tray, grab a veggie platter, and you're done. Okay. We good with that? Okay. From this, we're hoping that we continue to still feel like we're able to eliminate. Okay. So if you're getting bunged up, remember that's not healthy. We want to be releasing. Okay. What does change here is that you may want to get closer to that 2-hour fueling window. Okay. Really stay away from that 4-hour fueling window. You are going to burn off this energy because it's not as dense, this food, than you would with a complex carbohydrate like a bread or a rice. However, if you get to the end of the day, I do not want this to be a starvation day. Okay. This is not fasting. If you get to the end of the day and you know the difference between I'm nibbly and I'm starving, like I've been starving, like my stomach, I mean, I've never starved, but like I've been to that point where I couldn't sleep because my stomach actually hurt. I want you to still allow yourself to have a cup of rice before bed. I don't want you to go to bed starving because there might be a lot of acidity that's built up in your stomach from what you've been eating. I don't know what it could have been. Maybe you had too much pineapple, maybe too many tomatoes. There's acidity in those, and that will soak up the acidity and not create more bile and toxins in your body. Okay. So I'm giving you permission again. Okay. Now make sure that that is a whole grain rice because as I've written at the bottom there, it's hypoallergenic and it is a protein. Remember, there is some protein in this rice. Okay. So we got that. So we're allowed plant-based proteins, not animal-based proteins. Fruits, of course. Now, how about eggs?
Yeah.
How do you think we want to eat the egg though? We are allowed eggs, but there's only very good. There's only two ways. There's only 2 ways that you could eat an egg on this day. One is hard boiled, which Delaney said. The other is poached. Okay, so boiled, where you crack it in half, right? And then you're just eating it, put some salt and pepper. That's fine. You can have it that way. Fried changes the composition of the egg. Okay, so we don't really want to have a fried egg on this day. Okay, not even scrambled. Not even scrambled. It changes. The heat compromises. The heat of frying compromises the egg. How about cheese?
Yeah.
Okay, we can have cheese, and I'm going to tell you there's only 2 cheeses I really want you to have. Very good.
I love
goat
cheese.
cheese.
We love goat cheese.
And what other one do you
Feta.
have?
Mozzarella.
Very good.
Cheese.
Okay,
Goat
goat cheese and mozzarella. Okay, those are your 2 go-tos. So let's say you want to put a little bit of cheese on your salad because it just tastes good. Go ahead. You want to put some egg on your salad? Go ahead. Okay, so I'm giving you some options of how your mind thinks. I don't want you eating like rabbits for a day. That's not what we're doing here. Okay, I want it to taste good. Yes.
Would goat feta be okay to put in the salad, or is that
I
a
don't
different
know
thing?
what goat feta is.
Yeah.
It's basically feta cheese, but it's made of goat milk.
Okay,
It's
as
really
long as
good.
it's goat based.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. How about
Very
nuts
healthy.
and seeds?
Yes.
Very good, because they have the fat in them that we want, the omega fat. I'm going to get to portions in a second, but you can have them. But we're going to cover that in a second. Okay. Any questions about your nutrient saturation day? I don't want you to feel deprived. Cleanse to some people immediately makes them think, oh my gosh, I'm going to starve all day. You're not. Okay. We're just going a bit vegan for a day.
We got some good
Okay.
recipes.
All right. Where did I tell myself to turn to? Okay, we've got, I just want to cover quickly soluble and insoluble fiber. I need to make it very, very clear because I'm going to teach you about carbs and how many carbs and protein. Fiber is huge in this diet. All of your insoluble fibers you can write on page 64 are your grains because I didn't make that clear enough. Okay.
The insoluble?
Yeah, insoluble fiber is your grains. I want you to think of those as brooms pulling the sludge out of your intestine. However, we need a balance with our soluble fiber because it can actually create havoc in your system if you have too much of the grains, right? Too much of anything can cause havoc. So soluble fibers are your plants, your fruits and vegetables. If you haven't learned this before, it's super, super important to understand that we have three sources. I told you this already. We've got carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That's what our diet is. The super important part of those three and the addition is the fiber. Without fiber, if I was to only eat breads all day and an animal protein all day and eat fat, I'm not getting the fiber I need to pull that sludge out, to take the toxins, the bacteria, to balance the pH in my body, to stabilize my hormones, my stress hormones, which is like cortisol that shoots up. My body cannot survive without fiber, okay? So that means that we need to make sure that grains are a part of, and we're not talking cleanse day. Grains are a very important part of our diet. I'm working with a girl and she's anorexic, and it's really hard because for me to watch, because, and it's back to social media and back to what she thinks is right. But the belief is that we're not to eat bread, we're not to eat cereal, we're not to eat rice. It's bad for you. It's very, very good for you. You need soluble fiber, okay? But we also need those plants, which is the soluble fiber. We need fiber in our diet. It is the key to survival, because in either form, when a fiber goes in the body, it bulks. It blows right up. It makes you feel fuller longer. You should have your salad. The Europeans, I think they do a good job of this, right? They eat their salad first and then they have their pasta and they have their meat. I think it's in that order, but they always start with their salad first. Growing up, I'm European background. My grandmother is Macedonian. We always started with our salad. We didn't end with our salad. The salad is the best way to start your meal because that's the fiber that's going to go in and make you feel full even before you start eating. And then you'll probably get the right 75% of your diet being to fiber. Okay, so carbs, whether the carbs come from rice, it doesn't matter what it is, 350 grams of carbohydrates. And I just want this to be a need to know. 350 grams of carbohydrates we need in a day. I'm trying to drive a point home, okay? So if we have 350 grams, what's a good piece of paper to write on? Okay, 350 grams, well, we know that's a big number, right? 350, that's our carbs, okay? The next number is our proteins. We all know what our protein grams need to be. Remember, our weight divided by 2, okay? So if I'm 120 pounds, I need 60 grams of protein, okay? For fat, does anybody know how much fat we need in a day? Let's give it a shot.
10 grams.
Double, actually. So we need 20 grams of fat per day. Any guess how much fiber we need per day? Just a guess.
10.
Good guess.
15.
Good guess.
25.
20. So we
Damn
need
it.
20 grams of fiber. It's okay. So I'm only doing this for a discussion. Okay, so 20 grams. So our 20 grams of fiber, if we're getting that, we're definitely going to get it through our carbohydrates. When we think about no carbs, I'm trying to drive the no carbs home because I have so many people that think that they're going to release weight when they remove carbohydrates. If I was to remove carbs from my diet, it's 350, protein 60, 20, 20. If I take out 350, easy math says 60, 20, 20, that's only 100. Obviously, I'm going to release weight. Obviously, I took away the biggest number, okay? However, when I told you that carbs are what? There's a complex carb and a simple, okay? Simple. It means you've now taken away minerals and vitamins, nutrients that are essential to our body. But also, if we don't have carbs, we don't have fiber. There's no fiber in protein and there's no fiber in fat. There's only fiber in carbohydrates, right? I told you grains and plants. That's your carbs, okay? So we cannot remove carbohydrates from our diet because if I take that away, I'm not getting what my body needs. I'm not going to bulk. I'm going to be hungry all the time. You cannot sustain a no carb diet, okay? So never, never, never let anyone lead you to believe that a no carb diet is healthy. It's not, okay? We all know though, we need to pick whole grains, we need more plant-based, right? I don't need to review this. Okay, very, very important. The reason I'm telling you that is we're going to get into portions in a second, and I don't want anyone to think that it's a bad thing when I show you the portions. Okay, mindful eating is very important. Page 65. This is a key to how we're going to absorb these nutrients, especially even on the cleanse day, our nutrient saturation day. Okay. Another thing my sister said one time is, and you'll love this, most of the time we make mistakes because we have trouble with attention management, not time management. Whether or not you can do this is the key. Okay. Mindfulness to what you're going to do tomorrow, mindfulness to your month, maybe writing goals, being mindful, being very mindful of what you want, what it's all about for you. And then it's attention, staying focused in that is the hardest thing because it's not time management normally, it's the attention management we have trouble with. Even while people are talking, we have trouble paying attention. We are in a society of instant gratification, right? Like if my phone, when I'm scrolling something takes more than 3 seconds, I'm like, I'm waiting for it to download. We have no attention management. Okay. All right. I'm not going to get into it, but I want you to visualize. This is a quick way to do mindful eating. I want you to visualize this raisin. Okay. So let's imagine every single meal was a raisin. Okay. So I look at the raisin. Whoops, I picked up 2. And I think, oh, that was a beautiful grape on a vine. Oh, it must have been a big, juicy, purple, gorgeous grape on that vine. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, it's going to be so sweet. Then you put the raisin in your mouth and you move it around and then you chew it like 100 times. And then you maybe finally swallow the raisin. They call it the raisin meditation. Because if we actually slowed down and made every single bite last as long as what I just described, like you enjoy every tomato, every onion, every cucumber, and you appreciate the food instead of wolfing the food down, mindlessly eating, your stomach doesn't even know you digested it yet, and then move on to whatever you got to do. Okay, I want you to slow down. Remember back in the day, I'm maybe on Little House on the Prairie, or maybe you still do this, but everybody did a prayer before they ate. Well, it's just being grateful. So taking a moment to think about where that food came from, to be appreciative of the food that you have, the gratitude for who grew it, the hands that touched it. Imagine if we slowed down for every single thing we ate. Yeah, it would take a long time. But if we slowed down, we would actually digest the food properly. It wouldn't become as acidic. We would actually eat less because it would take longer for us to eat. I find eating already takes a long time when I slow down because I don't love food, but I love the hands that prepared them. And I'm very appreciative of what it's doing for my body. I had a friend who actually released quite a bit of weight, just not having seconds and slowing down. And that was it.
Seconds are killer.
Yeah. So that's portions we're going to get into right now. So review your mindfulness eating because it's a big part of attention management, not time management. Okay. All right. So portions, we are going to still be in our week 4 for this. I want this to be quick. Now, where did I go? I wrote it down. Oh, yes. Okay. Page 81. This is it. Okay. How are we for time? Okay. 15 minutes. Okay, portion distortion, biggest problem in North America to date. There was a time through the Depression, through World War II, when there was rationing, when we were taught to eat everything on our plate, when we were taught not to waste. We are not in that society any longer. We are now in a super-sized society. Everything is super-sized. I've got some examples of a pop. Right here. Did you know eating a cheeseburger, French fries, and soda pop in the 1950s generated 600 calories, or about a third of your recommended caloric intake? The same meal today is closer to 1,200 calories, only because of the portion distortion. Remember that. Never forget that. We are overeating as a society. So portions are wrong, okay? When you read, please read this because there's a lot of really good information here on how to understand your portions. But if you do nothing else and you never measure, because I never asked you to measure not once yet. I've taught you what you should have just so you have just so you know, a need to know. But some simple ways to do it. First of all, we'll go with I'm gonna get my box out. So let's look at page 81. When it comes to your fish, meat, and poultry, I want you to think of a deck of cards, okay? So when you look at your plate, you have a deck of cards. I don't mean a deck of cards spanned out.
Say that's taking me out.
Okay, I mean a deck of cards like that, maybe back in its box. That's how much, or that's the size of the chicken thickness chicken that should be on your plate, fish or poultry. So when you're making your meal that I've prepared or our meal plan, it's that portion. Okay, that is your meat. What I do, like today, I wanted to stretch my meat. I cut it up into little tiny morsels and spread it out on my plate. It makes it look bigger. It stretches it, but it's still just this little piece. Okay, peanut butter, walnut size. Okay, so inside this, now when I say peanut butter, I mean all natural or almond butter, any of your nut butter. If you're using coconut nut butter, sunflower butter, whatever your butters are. Salad dressing, shot glass. This shot glass, 1 shot, not 2. Okay, be clear. This is how much dressing should go on your salad. That's a lot. You can stretch that. Okay, you can stretch that very, very far. So your oil and balsamic vinegar.
I have a tip too. If you let it sit for a minute
Yep.
before eating it, it'll just get absorbed into the leaves and it
That's
tastes
true.
way better.
Pouring this on your salad and letting it just sit for a minute or so, it allows it to absorb into your lettuce and it becomes tastier. Obviously, it's like marinating your chicken. It becomes tastier. Okay. Butter, stamp size. Now, when it comes to your rice, the tennis ball. Oh, here we go. So there's your tennis ball. This is the amount of pasta or rice you should have. The way I cheat is I stretch it out. I stretch out my noodles, right, on my plate, and then I put my meat sauce or whatever I'm putting on it. But that's your portion size, okay? Your bread is a CD. We all know what a CD looks like. Cheese, 4 dice. These are 4 dice. This is what I mean, okay? 4 dice in a day, not every sitting, okay? That's the one I want to be clear about.
Wow.
Okay, so this is how much feta I will pick and I will crumble to the last little morsel.
That is good though.
Okay, all right. So that's your cheese. Juice, single serving. Your juice should be the size of this yogurt container. I didn't need to bring out a big yogurt container, I'm assuming, right? That's a single serving if you drink juice. Or if kids drink juice. All right, cheese, meat, fish. Now, if you were to do the guesstimate, some people use this on as a hand. There was a whole program I did a long time ago, and they actually prepared, you can't see it, but just so you know, what we're seeing here is protein is in the palm, the vegetables were the whole hand, the carbs were just stretched over the fingers, and then a thumb for your fats. So you can see how to measure certain things on your hand. The nuts is the one I want to go over. Mixed nuts. When I say palm, I mean just your palm, not including your fingers. Okay, that not a handful of nuts. Nuts have a lot of fat in them. And the reason is they're very, very difficult to digest. Okay, so meat takes 12 hours to break down. Cheese takes 12 hours to break down. Nuts take 12 hours to break down. It's not the length of time that's the problem. It's how hard your body worked for 12 hours and didn't use that to repair your cells. Remember our cells we talked about last week. We got all these gorgeous little cells on our body, right? We want to keep these cells healthy. We don't want things to break. Like if I put this, I want it to be healthy. I want healthy cells. So the more my cells have to work to do digestion, the less they can help me in repairing and or taking care of building muscle, burning fat, all of the good stuff. Okay, very, very important. How long do you think it takes to break down plants and vegetables?
Fast.
Very fast. How fast do you think?
6 hours.
6 hours. You already looked. Did you? No? Oh, okay. So I just want you to know it takes a couple hours. I had it written down. On page 68, raw juices, 15 minutes. Fruit, 2 to 3 hours. So raw juices, remember when we were doing our reset? right in. We absorbed it immediately, right? It went right to work doing its job, giving us vitamins, minerals. We didn't have to waste energy breaking down that food. How amazing is that? Starches take 5 hours. Fats, proteins, milks take 12. Okay. So when it comes to your portion sizes, I have one more trick for you. And this is a big one in my opinion. So when we think of supersize, most of our dinnerware these days, unfortunately, almost dropped that. Most of our dinnerware plays tricks on us. Most of our dinnerware ends up, we feel like we want to fill it. So if I was to put just this little deck of cards and this little piece of cheese and this little thing of pasta, my plate looks like it's not even full, right? Our digestion starts in our mind's eye, okay? That's where it starts. We salivate. We're like, well, that's not enough, right? That's not going to fill me. Immediately you're negative, 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 negative. So our plates, if you were to even just change your plates back to the way we used to eat our plates, we would eat in the center of this plate, okay? Our plates these days, as I said, are bigger. They're more like a charger. Have you ever had charger plates to make your plate look pretty? I should bring a charger up. Okay, that's your plate. The bowl that came with this particular set is this big. Okay, this set came together. Look at the size of this bowl. If I was going to have pasta or cereal or rice, in my mind, like what in the world? I'm not going to feel full just even from what I can see in that bowl. The true bowl size is what we call now a nappy bowl. That's the size of bowls. That's the size of bowl you really should have. Okay. Well, look at the size of that bowl compared to that bowl. Crazy. This plate is what we consider nowadays as our little snack plate, right? Like that plate in itself fits right into the middle of our plate. That is an actual proper portion plate. You should be eating off these.
It
Okay.
does help, even when I do my like yogurts, I'll like fill it in like the little like
Yeah, a little pretty cup that's smaller and then it looks like you're eating more. So if you even change your dinnerware, it will make a tremendous impact in your life. I promise you. All right, how about our cups? If you have a cup of coffee, yes, dear.
You didn't mention vegetables
Vegetables.
on that plate.
Oh, fill it. So half of your plate should be veggies.
Yeah.
Half your plate, big green salad. It could even flow off. You can never eat too many vegetables. Remember we reviewed who eats 6 bananas to equal like what it would be a tablespoon of sugar. Okay, even our mugs, right? That's a regular coffee mug that came with this set, with this white set. This is the coffee mug. Like that's crazy. This is really about the size we should be using. I got these at a thrift store, right? That's how it used to be. People are throwing them out now because they're like, oh, that's not big enough for my food. My family will never eat that. It's not enough food. Yes, it is. It's enough food. Even if you changed your plates. Even if you change how you eat with your forks, right? Like this looks like, I don't know, a pitchfork to do my gardening with. Get a smaller fork or smaller spoons. It's all tricks, okay? If you even think about, remember I said about the juice, right? The juice, this is really what a glass should be. And we're drinking out of glasses. Like, honestly, when you go to a restaurant, they give you a pop. That's what you're getting a pop in these days. I mean, this is a bit better, but this is truly the size of the juice that you're really allowed in a day. Okay, that's a portion size right there. Okay, when it comes to our pasta, wow, that would look like I would get full because look at all the pasta, right? So changing even how you're eating and what you're eating on makes a huge difference. Huge. We don't have any platters in my house just because I feel like, oh my goodness, I've got to fill that plate. It's even with Sean and the boys, right? Like they see a plate like, what is this little thing, right? In their mind's eye, they begin to evaluate and they think they're going to be hungry. And you're not. You know you're getting enough all the time.
Does your stomach really shrink?
Yes,
It does.
and your
Okay.
stomach does shrink. Your stomach, it actually becomes smaller. Does anybody know what I just almost gave it away. Does anyone know the size of your stomach and what it should be? Yes, that's right. That's all the food you really need, right? Like your food spread out. So it's your hand size. That's the size of your stomach. That's a meal.
I have really small hands.
Yeah, but you have a tiny tummy. So that's a meal, not your snacks.
True.
Okay, before we go, how we feeling? Everybody feeling good? Woo! All right, I got a quiz for you. Everybody take out a pen and paper. Quiz time. Uh-oh. We are halfway through the program. I have 8 questions.
Oh.
And then I got 9 that are gonna be just fun, right on that. Right on. Okay, question number 1. What is the core principle of the answer?
Oh.
Question number 2. What is fuel to our body? What is fuel to our body? Another word for fuel, basically. 3. How often should we fuel or eat? 4. When it comes to false labels, how much wheat is required in a product to call it whole wheat?
Great question.
False advertising on a label. How much wheat does it actually have to call it 100% whole wheat? What does the government say it
2%.
needs to have in it? Okay, what do you eliminate in your cleanse day? What are we removing on our cleanse day from our diet? What can you have on your cleanse day for your diet?
Lily. Yeah, she gets
You're
in
not
her
happy
throat.
with what we're not.
Yeah.
She's a burper.
What she thinks of this. All right, number 8. What is another way of saying cleanse day? What else is it that we call this day?
Did you miss 7?
Yeah.
7 was what can you have? Are these numbered wrong? No. What can you have on your cleanse day? Number 6 was what do you eliminate?
Yeah.
Oh, I did miss one. I'll go back. Okay, so what's another way of saying cleanse day?
Recess.
Okay. And the question I missed, what should you replace whole wheat with? Okay, quickly, I want to just ask you, so this is a little short and answer, just put quickly on the bottom. What is the quick portion description that I used for cheese? How do you
Not enough.
guesstimate? Not enough. How about peanut butter? If you get it wrong, it's okay. This is
No,
our
I did it
review.
right. It's written wrong.
Butter or oil? Meat, fish, or poultry? 2 more. Salad dressing. And the last one, rice or pasta? Can I hear from anybody at home that is able to unmute? Number 1, what did you answer?
80/20.
Number 2, Delaney, do you know what number 2 was?
I put water and air because
For what is fuel to your body?
when we work out, you say that air is your fuel.
Good, good. Yeah, she answered what is fuel to your body, and she said air because when we work out, I'm always say to breathe. That's our only fuel. That's absolutely right. But in this case, I was using more of what we are
That
fuel
makes
for,
more sense.
for nutrition. What do you?
Food.
Food. Cool. Who answered?
Food.
Okay, number 3. Lindsay, how often should we fuel or eat?
2 to 3 hours.
Yay! What's the max time though? How far is the
4.
4? Lindsay knows I've been telling her for many years. Okay, number 5, I put in the wrong place. What do you eliminate on your cleanse day? Cindy?
Carbs.
Carbs, very good. Oh, complex carbs,
yeah,
complex
Animal
carbs.
protein.
Animal protein, very good. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Watch your eggs, watch your nuts and seeds. Okay, you can have them, but be careful. Remember, I told you how much seeds, how much nuts.
Little handful.
Okay, it's only what fits in that little palm, okay? Another way, I kind of look at a walnut, to be honest with you, but spread it out. Okay, anyways, do we have coffee on our cleanse day? All right, if you went back to coffee, that's okay. Try to eliminate it on that one day, okay? All right, now what can we have? Jade,
Green tea.
what can we have on our cleanse day?
Vegetable based foods.
That's right, plant proteins. Can we have fruit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we are gonna drink lots of water on that day I didn't mention, but I think you all got the point of that. Okay, what should you replace whole wheat with? Maybe Kathy, what should you replace whole wheat with?
Ancient greens.
Yay! Okay, ancient grains or whole grains? Yes, awesome. But ancient grains is one of the grains that are like one of the things that I showed you that you can use. All right, now for our portion. All right, check off. I'll just go over it. Check off if you got it right. Cheese, 4 dice or 1 finger length. Peanut butter, walnut, butter oil, stamp size or 1 fingertip, just so you know, 1 fingertip, okay, for the butter. Meat, fish, poultry, deck of cards, or 1 finger length, which is like the longest finger, which is, I don't want to give you the finger, but the middle finger, okay? So my middle finger is about the deck of cards. That's a guesstimate on your hand. Salad dressing, shot glass, rice or pasta, tennis ball. How did we do on the last part? How did we do?
Real good.
Chicken dinner.
Salad dressing.
Salad dressing, didn't get the shot glass?
Not
Nope.
double
Okay,
stinky.
okay.
Just the
How did you do at home?
It's right, not double.
I mean, online.
I got them all.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, so I'm gonna leave you with judgment. Please watch the judgment on yourself, especially, okay? Don't judge yourself. And when you do, it's okay. Give yourself permission, but start thinking positive. Try to find some positive thoughts. Any positive thought. I don't know what your mantra is going to be. I've given you so many. We're adding our cleanse day. It's a party, right? 1 day a week. Our body is going to be flooded with nutrients. It's good energy. It's clean energy, okay? And then portions. Be very mindful of your portions. And I went over portions, even though it's week 4, because I gave you a meal plan and I didn't want you for the next 2 weeks to get a little out of control. Okay. I don't want to throw off all the great work we've done. I'm not going to see you for 2 weeks other than the workout. So those that are with me Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday up early, that's great. Now I did have a great question from someone. Someone was saying that the workouts make them feel a little bit dizzy. They're feeling actually nauseous at 6:30 in the morning. Can they change it to 6:30 at night? Absolutely. So we all have a circadian rhythm within our body. I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know how busy your day is. I don't know what energy you're expending. So if it fits better at 6:30 at night, absolutely go for it. That's why I did the videos, so that you had them to fall back on and or to give you permission to do the workout at another time, because I do know the workouts are so important. Okay. And I had another question, which was cheese and whether we're allowed cheese. I think I've answered that. Cheddar cheese is not the greatest option. It's cow-based. So we really want to stay away from cow-based milks if possible. Okay. We're getting lots of calcium from our greens. Yeah, read your notes. I would review over the next 2 weeks. Make it a little bedtime read if you can. Go back through some of the stuff. I know I'm becoming very repetitive, but the reason for being repetitive is to make sure I'm drilling it into your head so it becomes part of your subconscious to make decisions and make better decisions for yourself as you're moving forward. Because you're doing so good. You're all doing this all by yourself. You really are. I'm not holding your hand. I'm not with you every day. So I know this is a lot of change and a lot of work, but you're all doing amazing. You guys rock. All right. Fun. We'll see you for 2 weeks on this part. I am going to do a quick video on reading labels. If you want to check in, I'm going to do the video Thursday and I'll just put it out to everybody. Okay?
Perfect.
Have fun. I don't need to say good luck. This doesn't require any luck because you have all the tools. This isn't good luck. This is just pull out of that tool belt anything you need. If you have any questions, I'm always here. All right. Awesome, guys.
Oh,
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Thanks, Kath. You too. Bye, Tanya.
Bye.